don't see me.
And then you can like enter into the like adding in nice things about yourself, because I think that's really important to do. But at first, just try to cut off that like shit talking on yourself, because it's just like gonna poison you. Like it was just poisoning me. Like I thought it was so normal to just like hate on myself all the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of First Rounds of Me, and today we have the absolute pleasure of hosting the ever-infectious, fast-talking, bleach-browed thrifting goddess herself, Macy Eleni. We're going to be doing a deep dive into her thrifting world, all things mental health, get what I'm sure is going to be some very solid advice on some long-term relationships, all while seeing how well she knows herself, play around of first thing that comes to mind, and a special thrifting edition of Fuck, Marry, Kill. Welcome to the show, darling.
Hello. Oh my God, nothing sounds more exciting than a special thrift edition of Fuck, Marry, Kill.
I'm so excited.
I don't know why no one's ever played that with me before. Like, why has no one ever presented that game?
I'm so happy that I'm the first person to be able to do so.
Wait, Hannah, is Macy Eleni the first person you followed that was?
Yes.
I guess.
Truly and utterly. And I was, as I said on the initial email, I found you on YouTube. I want to say like a year and a half ago.
I love when people tell me that they find me through YouTube, and like more specifically YouTube Shorts, because I feel like that's like a whole other, I feel like all my platforms are a different kind of world. And I kind of feel like the audience is a little different. So I feel like my YouTube audience is who I'm like the closest with. And it's where I like involve my sister a lot more in my content too. So YouTube was like my first social media platform that I ever fell in love with. So I feel like when people say YouTube, I'm like, okay, you know me.
It brings you joy.
Like, you know me. Yeah.
Well, I found you and I was like, who is this beautiful human being? And then when you were telling us about it, and she was like, Macy Eleni, I was like, why does that name sound familiar? And she said Blazing Glaze, and I was like, she needs to be on the podcast. So yes, first person that.
Because you're a big thrifter.
Massive thrifter. And he actually, I took him thrifting for the first time a couple of months ago. First time ever.
Here in LA?
Here in LA. And he was blown away.
We've gone 3 times now.
Yeah, my boyfriend's entire wardrobe is pretty much secondhand at this point.
As it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be.
There's good stuff for guys out there. I feel like because less guys are out there picking, like we will walk in and find him like Alexander McQueen sneakers so hot, like Balenciaga sneakers so hot. Like we would just find the craziest stuff for him, like at Savers.
Pick up some tips for you today, because I just feel like we're going to deck you out in it.
Yeah.
Because you love all the things that we found thus far, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's like hit or miss.
Yeah.
The last store we went to, there was nothing.
You just need more practice time. That's all it is.
We'll get there.
All right. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself? Like where you're from, how long you've been in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I am from Dayton, Ohio. Pretty much like a nowhere zone type of place. It's pretty gray. But I will say the thrifting is fantastic. And that's where like I obviously fell in love with thrifting when I was a teenager. I've lived in LA now for maybe like 6 or 7 years, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. I have lost count at this point, but I love LA so much. I've wanted to live here my entire life. Like I grew up just like dying to be an entertainer and like make people laugh and make people happy. I spent like so much time when I was younger, kind of like dealing with like the trauma of like my growing up and like stuff like that, watching TV and watching movies and like holding up in the basement of my mom's house doing that. And I loved people like keeping me company that way and storytelling. So I always just wanted to do that for other people. So in my mind, I was like, LA, I got to get there so I can just entertain the world.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful.
Did you accidentally step into being a famous thrifter, or did you want to be an actress, comedian?
Oh my gosh, I've never been called a famous thrifter before.
But
I guess I am the most.
You're the most famous
But
thrifter.
that definitely wasn't a thing though for a very long time. I've been thrifting literally since forever, but I really, really got into it when I was like 16 years old because I started really falling in love with fashion. And I like covered my walls in my basement room at my mom's house when I was a teenager with like nylon and Teen Vogue and stuff. And I just wanted to recreate those outfits, but obviously like we couldn't afford that. And the thrift store was like a place I could go that really just felt like another universe that transported me out of my much less than sparkly reality in my home to like a place where like literally anything was possible. And it was so much fun for me. And that was just something I was always naturally doing. I always knew I wanted to like make TV, just entertain people, but I wasn't sure what. I was super into singing when I was younger. I always just loved performing for people and making people laugh and making them happy. And that always filled my cup up so much. So I actually started my first YouTube channel ever, which isn't the one I have now. And it was called Fashion Outsider 09. Like back when it was like, we weren't sure if it was safe to like use our real names on the internet in 2010.
Safe, like it.
And so I made YouTube videos literally when like the first wave, like very first wave of people were making YouTube videos. And I would literally take my like flip camera to the thrift store and like make these thrift with me's really reminiscent of what I make now, but having no idea that that was a thing or would ever become a thing. People weren't even like really doing like social media as a job at that time. College for fashion merchandising. And I was kind of just in this place where I was dealing a lot with my mental health and my eating disorder and hadn't really entered recovery yet. I didn't really until I moved out here to LA. And when I moved out here, I was making my YouTube videos, still just trying to get my footing in what I could really do in entertainment and like what I had to say. I feel like I had to really go through the first couple years that I lived in LA were like serious for me, like going through recovery from my eating disorder for the first time for real, like as an adult. I went to a treatment program when I was 16 and it didn't do anything because with eating disorders, you know, like if you don't want to make that change, like it's just not going to happen. So that was, you know, like never going to happen for me when I was younger. And I realized that like I wasn't going to be able to make my dreams come true. You know, I'd moved out to LA, this place I wanted to live my whole life. And I was still depressed. I was still in this terrible mindset. I was still waking up every day. And the first things out of my mouth were something mean about myself, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. That is like way too natural for us to just like wake up and be like, oh my God, I look like shit. And like, oh my God, like I'm so stupid and all this stuff. And that was stuff that I realized that I had to work through before I could really like have anything to say to anyone. You know, like I wanted to say all these things and I wanted to like entertain people, make them happy, but I wasn't at a place where I was happy with myself at all. So like, what did I really have to give anyone else at that point? And that's when I kind of just started opening up online about what I was going through. And then it kind of naturally spilled into me feeling comfortable enough to start sharing my thrifting, because up until a couple years ago, up until like 2019, I had really always like in my mind, like fashion and thinness went very hand in hand. And when I did fashion internships in the past and walked through the halls of Teen Vogue, when I went to Teen Vogue Fashion University, like it was just like a lot of rumblings of thin women talking about, you know, how they like didn't have time to eat lunch that day and like whatever, and making that sound cool. And that was so glamorized. And so I really had to get to a point where I could finally like share fashion in the way I wanted to, which is making people feel good about themselves and not making it like look like me, dress like me to be cool. I wanted it to be more about like being yourself and self-expression, which thrifting really lends itself to, because you can't buy the exact same thing that I'm wearing and you won't find the exact same thing, but you'll find something that's really you. And that has just been like a really beautiful journey that kind of just like seamlessly, but not seamlessly at all. Like obviously lots of ups and downs, but kind of worked out to me starting my TikTok in 2020 at a time when sustainability and like people wanting to get more into thrifting was like such a huge conversation, not just in fashion, but like the world. And so when I started making my TikTok thrifting videos, no one was really doing that and making those types of videos at the time. Sharing thrifting and estate sales and stuff like that. So it really blew up for me then. And now it's been like crazy to watch. Like now I scroll my FYP and it's like girly after girly, like at the thrift in their cart. And I'm just like, these are thriftfluencers, which like didn't even exist a couple years ago.
I love that. I feel like you really have inspired like a certain generation, or, you know, multiple generations to, as you said, like you can't replicate what you've done, right? You can't go out and find the exact same outfit. But you can replicate the feeling and the joy and the sense of identity that you can get from going to these secondhand clothing stores. I actually saw an interview with you where you were like, it's a beautiful thing because like this piece of clothing once had a story and now I get to make a story in it, and then one day I'll give it away and that will have a story. It's like this beautiful journey through a piece of clothing.
Yeah, using secondhand clothing as my vessel for storytelling is like something that I really came to see over the past couple of years as like literally what I was put on this planet to do, at least for right now.
I love that so much. All right, there's so much to talk about. I want to get.
What was the grind like growing the YouTube page? Because
oh my gosh,
when Hannah showed, like usually we go by Instagram, so
yeah,
we look at Instagram. I was like, oh wow, she has a big following, and then she's like, but look at her YouTube, and then I was like, whoa, I've never seen anybody.
They're different worlds.
Such a big YouTube following, but what was the grind like to get from 0 to like, okay, now I have 1,000, I have 5,000. Were you trying to?
It was like a weird journey because, like I said, my first ever YouTube channel I started in 2010, and I grew that to like 10,000 subscribers like when I was a teen, and like doing that stuff. Yeah, and that was just me. Like I was an all-star cheerleader. I would do my all-star cheer hair and makeup. That video went viral and got 300,000 views in 2010, and like was crazy. And it was me. It literally looked like it was filmed on a potato. Like all of my videos looked like they were filmed on potatoes. But that was a time when like no one was on the internet doing it. But I was just like, oh my God, I was so obsessed with the fact that like, obviously I'd always looked at the entertainment industry as like this big, huge, amazing, untouchable thing. I don't have any connections to it. I was like, how would I ever get that close to it? So when I started seeing people making YouTube videos, I was like, it did click in my mind where I was like, okay, like doing something like this, like could get me a seat at the table that I would not have any other way. So I really saw it as an opportunity to get to where I wanted to go eventually, But honestly, like I switched and I started my channel Blazed and Glazed in I think 2019, like full year I was doing that before the pandemic hit and I started making TikToks. And it was definitely like a slow progression at first. I think it took like a couple, I mean, it took me like probably like that whole first year to get to like my first like 30,000 subscribers. But then honestly, YouTube introduced YouTube Shorts, which like catapulted me into like another dimension of growth because I just really seem to thrive in this like short form content, which I love making long form content though. It just takes a lot of time for me to like make and create, especially when I'm creating on all three platforms and trying to do that, trying to make like different content on all three platforms.
Yeah.
It's a lot. YouTube's definitely the most like you got to be on your grind, like hard to grow platform, but it's also like super rewarding because your community is so strong. Like I find like my YouTube subscribers, like when I meet them in person, like it's this connection like no other. Because people that watch YouTube, I don't know, I think they're a little smarter sometimes. I think they have a little more attention span happening.
No,
and so
I
like,
definitely agree.
you know,
He's always like, why are you watching YouTube? I'm
Well,
like,
no.
because I don't like TikTok. I don't like Instagram.
I have to say, after being involved in YouTube now,
yeah,
it's truly impressive, but it says more about you because to get 30,000 subscribers in 1 year, it doesn't matter how hard you try, people are gravitating towards you. And that is so impressive because we do it now and it's such a grind.
it's a grind and YouTube's just always been that way. And I think it's because like if you're gonna make it on YouTube, it's because you were in it and like you were doing it for a long time. And short form definitely now that they're like pushing that on the platform really helps, but honestly in that first year I just like had so much to say. I had stepped away from like talking about fashion, which is something I love so much, for so many years when I was going through recovery, that like I was so hungry to be like, you can wear whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. Like I was so sick of like, I feel like at that point I was so sick of seeing every single fashion influencer that I saw on the platform just being like, dress like me to be cool, lose 10 pounds to be cool, like this is what's cool, buy fast fashion. And like I was just like, I think people really just wanted something else.
Well, you're authentic.
And I was literally doing that in my studio apartment in Beverly Hills that I lived in at the time. I called it The Box. And I'm like, if you've been here from The Box days, like you are a real one. And I would literally just stand in my kitchen because all I had was my kitchen in my studio apartment and do thrift hauls and like shimmy around in fabulous clothes in the most unfabulous background. Because like people just gravitate towards people, and like you can have the most beautiful setup in the world and whatever, but like if you wait for that, you're never going to start making content. And like if you just want to express yourself, just like press record, express yourself and put it out there and be yourself, fully be yourself. Because I feel like when I was online at first, when I was younger, like obviously I wasn't as comfortable with myself, and until I could really like lean into just, it sounds so corny, but being me, that is like when I started to see like a community start to resonate with me for like the right reasons.
For the right reasons. I think we see this like replica of people across social media nowadays where it's the same thing and people are ingesting it, and I think people are getting sick of it. And so they're gravitating towards people and personalities like yourself who are just so authentic and so genuine, which are like very key factors for our app of just making sure that like you resonate with them in a way that it hits like core morals and values. It's not just like this shiny, pretty view of something.
And sometimes that's messy. Like something for me, like that I even will sometimes get down on myself about, and I have to like snap myself out of it, is like, I am just such a like all over the place, messy kind of person. I mean, a lot of thrift girls are like, we're just like, we love to just like get down and dirty in the clothes. And like, for me, like it's always been more about like how we can make people feel through the clothes before it's like about how we look. So like sometimes, yeah, my nails aren't done and my hair's not perfect and I'm not wearing makeup, but I have a sleigh outfit on, and like that's fine. And for a long time, like that would like hold me back sometimes from feeling good enough to like show up on camera. And I think once I just like threw that all away and was just like, I can show up however I want to show up. And some people are going to say terrible things about the way I look because they totally do. And some people are going to make terrible assumptions and say like, she must be on crack to be acting so crazy without like all this stuff. Like you just have to, I don't know, get okay with it, because once I started like reading the comments of people that I was really reaching that were actually starting to feel so good about themselves because I was okay showing up messy and just like as myself.
As a human.
It fucking just like makes me so happy.
It gives me like a little bit of goosebumps just thinking about it, because it's true. It's like we, especially as women, I can't speak to a male point of view, but like as women, we need to see that messiness of human, because we wake up and we are that. And to see this like gilded perfection constantly shoved into your face, whether it be through like professional ad marketing, whether it's rampant on social media nowadays, to see someone showing up as their authentic self, and then you go, okay, I fucking look like that, or I feel that way sometimes, or the things that you've talked about with your eating disorder and depression, like people feel that. People want to hear from somebody that they trust. as well.
And I needed that.
Yeah,
Like when I think back to when I was younger, I was like, oh my God, what I wouldn't have given to like see someone doing what I wanted to do, like out there, like chasing their dreams and like in fashion, entertainment, doing these like fabulous things. But like they have depression and they're messy as fuck and it's okay. And like they're just saying it and it's fine. And it doesn't mean they can't live a happy life and it doesn't mean they can't be a positive person and it doesn't mean they can't make their dreams come true. They're just going to do it the way they're going to do it.
What's that thing where they say it's like people don't post the B-roll of their life, right? Like they only ever post like the absolute fucking highlights of it. And when people do post this quote unquote B-roll, as I said, it allows you to connect with somebody through a screen that much more. So beautiful. All right, I want to ask you, because you're like the thrift goddess, I'm going to forever call you. I want to ask you a couple of questions about thrifting and I want to get your answers. What day of the week is the best to thrift? Is there a best day?
Yeah. Well, it's going to depend where you are
Okay.
because where you are, like there's going to be different tag colors that are going to be on sale at your different thrift stores on your different days. So like get to know your spot. Like get to know like what days they discount what. I personally like to go on senior days to the thrift store, whatever day that is at your thrift store. They give seniors a discount, but it means like more seniors are going to be there than probably like they're not looking for the same stuff as you. You know what I'm saying? So like I like to go on like a good senior day. I like going honestly, no matter what day it is, right when they open. Like any
6
day of the
a.m. early?
week, but like when I wish the thrift store opened at 6 a.m. Like, please, like I wish I would literally be there at 4 a.m. if they would let me. I'll do that for estate sales. But like most thrift stores open at like 9 or 10. Like get there when they open. I love that because that first hour at the thrift store when they open is like such a sweet spot. It's like pretty quiet. It's just like you, maybe like 3 other people and a couple employees, like, you know, some Christian soft rock or something in the background, and you just like flip, and
But
it
how
is
do you
so
guys
nice.
flip through every one?
Oh, mate, it's an eye.
Yeah.
I go through 50
And it's
then
time.
I'm like,
Yeah,
take a break.
because you know, like once you know what can be hidden in there, once you have like swooped and found like the most gorgeous like Versace top for $3, like that will always stick in your mind, and you'll be like, that could be within here. And if I don't keep looking, like how will I ever know?
It adds fuel to your fire, but also
Oh my God, it really does.
Like, the most minute patience for shopping. So it's like I can understand why thrifting is perhaps not appealing.
But I feel like when you like kind of switch it to not shopping, but like treasure hunting,
But I don't know what I'm
scavenger
looking
hunting.
for. I've never bought a piece of clothing for myself, really.
It's true.
Yeah,
I'm getting there. I'm teaching.
Yeah,
you.
I don't know what I'm
Good
looking
you have
for.
her.
Yeah,
I don't know.
we're helping you, darling. All right, first major piece that you ever found thrifting.
Oh my gosh, this like blue, I don't know the exact Louis Vuitton style. We've looked it up. I've had my sister look it up. It was like a blue, light pastel blue, kind of almost like patent Louis Vuitton Pouchette bag. And I got it at the Salvation Army by my mom's house in Dayton, Ohio from behind the counter for literally under $10.
Oh.
And that was probably in like 2011, 2012, like very much so, when most of the girls that now think thrifting is cool, like were making fun of me for it. And so like they're getting the LV bags, you know? Now that would probably be so much more expensive at like some thrift store, but back then like literally nothing.
Oh,
But that was like one that like sent me into another dimension.
oh my God, it would have me too. I would have been like, oh my God. All right, what's the weirdest or like most bizarre thing that you've ever found thrifting?
My old assistant, before my sister came and started working for me, found, it wasn't my find, it was her find, but it was too incredible. She found this like camera, and like something you should always do, like if you find a camera and have a feeling about it at the thrift store, like either get it or plug it in, or like if there's a memory card in it, like you need to see what's on that memory card. So like she got the camera and she put the memory card into her computer, and it was literally like a self-tape that a man had made in like the early 90s. He had like a whole Matrix vibe on. He was so in character, and it was just like him doing his self-tape, like literally, I swear, auditioning for the Matrix. Like it was too much. He had like a black trench coat on, the sunglasses and everything. He was like a 50-year-old man, and it was so 90s. It was so beautiful because you could actually really feel his passion in the tape. Like it was really
God,
like giving
so
for me.
sweet.
And like honestly, it was unhinged
Okay.
and so good.
That's incredible. And I really want to see that tape one day. All right, metaphorical gun to your head. If you absolutely had to choose, would you pick estate sales or thrift stores?
Thrift stores, because they are just tried and true, and like they are like everywhere in every city, so many. And like estate sales are amazing. They are time capsules. They are crazy. They're incredible. But the ones we have here in LA are better than they are anywhere else in the world. So like for me, it has to be a thrift store. And I'm just like a born and bred on the racks.
Can you walk me
Kinda
through an
girl.
estate sale? So I saw, I did my research as well on your YouTube. and I saw the estate sales. So you go into somebody's house who dies and they just give her stuff away or his stuff away?
Okay, so estate sales. Let me just give
What?
like
No,
a
that's what I saw. I was like, this is pretty cool if you get into a rich person's house.
Yeah, so estate sales are basically like when either the 3Ds of the estate sale world are like death, divorce, and downsizing. And so it'll be if someone passes, if there's like a big divorce, or if someone is just like downsizing and moving away to another place.
Bless you.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Unfiltered podcast.
There you go.
And so basically, like the person's family will maybe like contact an estate sale company and they'll be like, hey, like I really need help. Because obviously, like when someone passes, for instance, like it can be so traumatic to have to go through and like a whole entire house, especially if they were like a hoarder or like just had so much stuff or like you had a complicated relationship with that family member. Like people don't always want to do that themselves. So estate sale companies will come in and they'll price everything and they'll merchandise it and they'll literally set up a sale so that will like raise money. I think a lot of people don't know this, like for the family that will usually go towards like the estate or like helping have a funeral or something like that. There's so many honestly shitty parts to death, obviously, and like having to pick up all the pieces of your loved one's life like isn't usually what someone wants to do when they're grieving. So estate sale companies will come in and they'll like make it this shoppable, incredible time capsule for other people while raising money for the family. So it's super circular. It's so incredible because like you'll walk into some of these houses and be like, holy shit, like all this stuff would just go to the landfill if like we weren't in here like digging through grandma's underwear drawers and pulling out Dior slips. Like I do that all the time. Like here in LA, they're obviously, like I said, incredible, like because there's so many good ones to go to. We went to Alex Trebek's, Amy and I did.
You went to Alex Trebek's estate sale?
We did, like literally, when was that? Last year. And I happened to be friends with the woman. This company was running the sale. So we got to go to the day before it opened to the public, which was crazy because it was an estate sale that brought out like people from all over the country, drove to it. And yeah, my friend Amy got his personal director's chair. It's in her studio.
But who prices this stuff?
The estate sale company.
But is it a thrift store price or is it like a?
It depends on the estate sale. It totally depends on the estate sale. You'll go to one that's like literally like a picker's paradise where like everything's $1 to $20 and it's literally crazy. And then you'll go to some more like high end ones like the Alex Trebek one that like things were obviously priced because he was an icon and things were literally like memorabilia, but still so much cheaper than like you're gonna / things you're never gonna find anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? I do find estate sales like cheaper than like an antique store, like a vintage store and stuff like that. Estate sales have really, really good deals to be had, especially because they discount as the days go. You know, first day full price, second day 50% off, 75% off, it goes on. But yeah, I walked away with one of his like tracksuits that like there's photos of him wearing. It's like this white, really cool tracksuit that I will literally have in my closet for the rest of my life, like a TV icon.
It's a piece of history.
Could
Right?
you go to an estate sale?
It was incredible.
Definitely go to an estate sale.
Well, we'd have to. Let's all go to an estate sale.
If we went with you though, oh my god, that would just be like,
it's a good time.
Holy shit,
It's a good time.
I remember I went to one out in Palm Springs and it was beautiful. Like
Palm Springs, yeah, good too.
The stuff that they had in Palm Springs was wild. All right, a little tiny birdie tells me that you have something of a thrift Bible coming out soon.
Yeah,
are we allowed to talk about it? Can you talk about it?
Yeah,
okay, let's talk about it. What is it?
Okay, so I am this year. Oh my gosh, in September. My ultimate guide to thrifting. It's called Second Chances, the ultimate guide to thrifting, sustainable style, and expressing your most authentic self is, coming out in September. And it's crazy. It's like a first of its kind book, just fully encompasses the whole entire secondhand shopping world with my like personal story, very much so intertwined throughout. It's like equal parts, like so many tips and tricks and stories, perspectives from people, you know, talking about thrifting through gender expression and for different body types. I definitely like interviewed so many people that I look up to and also love in the thrifting and fashion community. And then it's also like an insane collage, like picture book. Like it's full of just like Nikon shot, really sick photos that, I mean, just like tell the story of a zillion pieces of used clothing, and I can't even believe it's real.
All right, I want to completely switch gears here because you did touch on this earlier, and after all of the research that I did on you and from following you for the last couple of years, I think it's so insanely beautiful how open you are with your recovery from eating disorder and also depression. My mother, as I was growing up, actually was battling anorexia and depression, so I saw it firsthand. How like the short-term, long-term kind of recovery of that. And I was also a model for 15 years. So you're talking about women in fashion. It's like I was literally told, I'm 5'11", I was told 115 pounds, 120 pounds is where you have to cap it, cannot go over that. And I never really kind of struggled with it so heavily, but the mental game of it was so like such a struggle. So why do you think that it's so important for you to share your recovery and your journey through this?
I think because like you said, it's something that's getting more okay to talk about now, but it was like so taboo for so long. And also like I just it's something that's like so raw and so real and so many not just women but people in general, and not just thin white women but literally any body type human being you could think of goes through. But we like have this very specific lens of like what an eating disorder looks like that's been like kind of portrayed in media. So like I just think it's so important to talk about, just to like share that it's stuff that we've all gone through, but also like I don't know. It's a very messy thing, and honestly, I started talking about it on YouTube. Probably, probably shouldn't have even been talking about it right and smack dab in the middle of like when I first started like thinking like I need to start getting a hold on this for myself. Like I said, literally the moment for me was when I first moved to LA quite a few years ago, and I was sitting in the box, my studio apartment, and I literally broke down crying on the ground after like ripping myself to shreds for like the majillionth time in my life, just sitting there being like, I live in this place where all my dreams were supposed to come true. I was supposed to be so happy once I moved from Ohio to here and got out. Why am I not? Because I'm not happy with myself. And that was actually like the first video I made on YouTube in a long time, when I actually just uploaded a video talking about that like started getting a lot of attention, where people were like, oh my God, me too. Especially because there's not a lot of people that are like adults talking about it. Like I feel like it's something that's really, I don't know, I feel like it's more looked at as like, oh, teens
Yeah.
going through it and talking about it. And there's not a lot of resources, at least for people that are doing it on their own as adults and just trying to get through it. And I feel like talking about it is like a huge just step in like it not being taboo, like it not being something that we all have to like hide away and hush hush about.
Have you ever gotten any criticism or judgment for sharing it online?
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten hate comments about like anything you could ever think about, but I think for me, I just feel so strongly about being honest about who I am, and my eating disorder started when I was 6 years old. So for me, like I was also diagnosed with depression, anxiety when I was 6. So for me, that's just such a core part of who I am. And I also want people to know that like I feel like we try to put like a really pretty bow on recovery, and one thing I get a lot of questions on is like, when will I be recovered? Or like, when will you be recovered? Do you consider yourself recovered? And I'm like, oh my God, just take all the pressure off of that for yourself. Because honestly, it's a journey. It's something I'm probably never going to say like, oh my God, I am fully recovered now. Because even when I'll have an amazing couple of months, like something will knock me down where I'll feel like, oh my God, like, why am I trying to make myself small? Not even physically, but just like so much of my eating disorder, there was the physical, but so much it's a mental thing. Like it is so mental. And when you're in that mindset, like it's really hard to be kind to yourself, to be kind to others, to think about anything but yourself, because it's such a selfish disease, illness, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it makes you really, really just think about yourself, which is just like honestly like a terrible way to live. Like not being able to like have empathy for others and like to see outside of yourself and to see how it's affecting your life in so many different ways. And I just
mentally trapped though. There's
yeah.
like, as you said, that there's so heavily like a mental game when it comes to that. And like my mother, she's turning 60 this year, and she still tells me the exact same thing. She's like, you never really, it's not that you never really fully recover from it. You get better at handling it. She's like, but you will have bad periods and bad moments where you realize that like it's so easy to get trapped in your own mind. But the fact, like I said, like the fact that you share it out loud and you give people hope and a little bit of direction of being like, listen, babe, if I can do it, you can do it. And here are the things that have helped me and X, Y, and Z. Like, I think it's just so important. In fact, one of my mum's favorite quotes, I actually wrote it down here, by Robin Williams, who I'll always adore. I cried for like a week when he died. But it says, I think the saddest people always try their hardest to make other people happy because they know what it feels like to feel absolutely worthless, and they don't want anyone else to ever feel that way. Do you relate to that?
I think that I, from a young age, liked making other people happy because I felt so unhappy on the inside, and I never wanted other people to feel that way. And then as I started gaining a following of mostly young women, I didn't want any of them to ever feel that way. I have 2 younger sisters as well, and like I don't want them to ever feel that way. Like it's something that I feel like I'm like put on this planet to do. And also like I don't mind airing my dirty laundry even if people judge me. It's like literally what the fuck ever. We all have a basket of it, and like it's
That's
just
it.
who I am.
All right, what piece of advice would you give to people out there, or like words of encouragement, who are kind of a little bit trepidous of starting the journey of recovery?
Honestly, the first thing that I did for myself and the first thing that I try to tell a lot of people is to not even like, because it's such a big thing to bite off and like chew.
Mm.
Like it's huge. It's huge, especially when you've been going through it for so many years, for most of your life. It is so hard. For me, like the first thing I tried to do outside of like the physical stuff was just to like, just eat. Cause like so many people just say that. For me, it was like trying to eliminate the bad talk about myself, speaking to myself in a negative way. That was something I felt way too okay with. And it's something I feel like so many people feel way too okay with,
Oh.
just like shitting on themselves. Let's just not do that. So that can be really hard, especially for people that have eating disorders. Like it's so ingrained in your mind. You have literally a little voice in the back of your head telling you all of these terrible things about yourself, especially if you also struggle with body dysmorphia. That's like a whole layer of just like lies in your brain, and then they come out of your mouth at yourself. It's so awful. And I think the number one thing I would say is like trying to eliminate that shit talk. And even if at first you can't replace that with nice things, because that can be a whole beast of its own, like trying to say kind things about yourself in a way that doesn't feel awful and corny to you, but like it's gonna feel cheesy at first, but that's okay because it did for me too. Just getting up in the morning and really catching yourself when you try to say those, when you say those mean things about yourself, cutting it out, be like, oh my God, no, like stop it. I do not deserve this. And
So
then
even
trying
if you can't
to
say nice things to yourself,
just don't say the mean
Yeah,
stuff.
just don't say mean
And then you
shit.
can like enter into the like adding in nice things about yourself, because I think that's really important to do. But at first, just try to cut off that like shit talking on yourself, because it's just like gonna poison you. Like it was just poisoning me. Like I thought it was so normal to just like hate on myself all the time. And it's like, how do you expect to get anywhere? How do you expect to like be able to ever build yourself up if you're just constantly like
Walking around like beating
Literally.
yourself up.
What is the biggest battle with an eating disorder? Is it your physical appearance? Is that,
I
or is it
think
more of a mental thing?
it's more of a mental thing. I think so much of it is about control for a lot of people. I grew up in like a really chaotic household, and when I was 6 years old, like the first thing I remember is like, not to like be so gross, like TMI, but like chewing my food when I was 6 years old and then like holding it in my mouth and like just going upstairs after dinner and just spitting it out. And like
Control.
literally not knowing why I was doing that, but just feeling this sense of anxiety that like I had to put somewhere and putting it there. And then I think as I got a little older and like was in school with girls and bodies were changing, I started my period when I was 9 years old. So my body started changing like a lot more rapidly than other girls. And I think I just started to feel really insecure. I don't speak to my dad. He's like a raging narcissist, but he also started like making comments about my body at a young age that really started to make me aware that like, okay, like we're not supposed to be putting on more weight or we're supposed to look a certain way. And so I think that control that I had started like doing as a young child then trickled into me understanding that that was a connection to my physical body. So I think for me, it like wasn't about the physical at all. But then like obviously as like our world that's so fucking skinny obsessed started, and especially in like the 90s and early 2000s, like that's all it was. And like even my mom, like I love her to death, but like she was so entrenched in like the diet culture and stuff then, like, I'll have a little bit of your food, but only in like a little dish, you know what I mean? And like that, me thinking that was like normal behavior.
It's getting pushed into you subconsciously, and then it comes out as a conscious effort.
Oh,
it's
and,
that
like,
little voice.
Also, I want to say like something that can really help when you're starting recovery is also to like really be the own editor in chief of your Instagram and like unfollow anyone that makes you feel bad about yourself. It's literally nothing on them. I had to unfollow some people that I absolutely love because I had to be so real with myself of if I was comparing, if I was thinking negative stuff about myself as I looked at them, and then refollow people of different body types, of different perspectives with different shit to say, because that helped me so much. It helped me start to like unlearn my own inner fat phobia that I just had no idea existed within me. This idea of why do I feel like gaining weight is the worst thing that I could possibly do? Like, why do we think that? That's something that so many of us have ingrained in us, even if we don't think of it like that. And so for me, like following all these other voices online that were talking about body acceptance and talking about getting comfortable in your body no matter what it looks like and celebrating it no matter what it looks like, and really beauty being any size, like these concepts that now obviously like in our like social media age that are preached so much and put on like Instagram graphics so much, it doesn't sound as groundbreaking. But like I feel like I'm 31, so like for me, like so much of my growing up was like in the 90s and early 2000s where like that wasn't what people were saying.
No.
We were just opening magazines. We didn't have like social media to look at in that way and other people to see. We only saw who the media was propping up, which was thin white women.
Yeah.
So like unfollowing people that make you feel like shit about yourself, and then following people with other things to say so you can start seeing outside of yourself, I think is huge when you're going through recovery. Because like I said, it's so selfish. It's so me, me, me. You're so in your own brain. Listening to other people and like starting to really like realize, why do I feel this way about bodies in general, was huge for me, honestly. Honestly, maybe even huger than like, let's just get eating again, like was for me really understanding why I felt this way in the first place about gaining weight.
I think what you just said, though, I mean, so very true in terms of people trying to recover, but then also anybody that's struggling with like this comparison culture that we exist within nowadays. That's wonderful advice. In fact, I think I'm going to take your advice and probably unfollow.
I don't even think it's for comparison culture. I think it's for everything. Politics,
Yeah.
racism.
Yeah.
Follow people different than you. See the
Follow
world
people that have
differently.
different things to say and have different lived experiences, because like it is like how empathy grows, and we just like need more of that more than
That's
ever.
like the biggest
Couldn't
thing
agree
when I
more.
go back home to my family. Like we live in a small town. They all think the same, and they think I'm weird because I'm in LA
Yeah.
or New York City. And I'm like, no, I just have different perspectives. You guys have the same perspective. You need to talk to people who think differently
Yeah.
than you, because you're not always right.
Yeah,
I
and
think
like
it's-
just because something hasn't affected you or your immediate family or your friends doesn't mean it's not real
No.
at a lot of people out there.
So very true, darling. All right, I want to, again, switching gears, I want to talk about your partner, Tyler. Because you guys have been together for 12 years.
Yeah.
Which I feel like anywhere is a monumental achievement, but especially existing within a place like Los Angeles for the last couple of years. So how did y'all meet? Joe loves meet cute
Oh
stories.
my
so
God,
tell
yeah,
it.
okay, we have a good one.
Really?
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
met our first year of college in Ohio at
Where was
Ohio
that?
University.
Ohio, okay.
At a frat party,
Oh.
our freshman year. I was 19 and he was 18. This was in 2012. And yeah, oh my God, okay, this is so crazy. Okay, so we ended up being from the same hometown, but we didn't know this at the time, which was like 2 hours away from our college. We literally like grew up 20 minutes away from each other our whole lives. And like my grandparents would like take me to the bird store that his mom owned. Like I had no idea. We had no idea. So I was at a party like with my girlfriends bopping around, was getting creeped on by like a super creepy older guy, you know, hitting on the freshman girls.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, I can't deal with this man. And then this like boy came up to me. And like he had like a whole freshman getup on, like a lanyard, like cargo shorts, like the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, the most harmless looking human I've ever seen in my life. And he just like came up to me and he was like, literally, I don't know how he got the balls to say this, because like I'm his first girlfriend ever. Like I'm his first everything. And so like he came up to me, he told me that he had just like given himself a big pep talk before this party, being like, I'm finally gonna just like start talking to girls. And like, I'm just gonna like get confident and like do my thing. So he tells me, you know, that he had seen me. He comes up to me and he's like, I have seen you walking around campus like all last semester with your friends. And like, you just like radiate happiness and you're always just like laughing and smiling with people. And like, I just wanted to meet you. And I was just like, I mean, I was kind of drunk and I was just like, honestly, you're so harmless. Like, we can keep talking if you'll pretend to be my boyfriend, because this guy will not stay away from me. So like, I was like, if you pretend, which is probably like everything he wanted to hear.
Yeah, he was like, oh.
super bad.
Yeah, he's like everything he wanted to hear. I was like, if you pretend to be my boyfriend, like we can keep talking. And he was
All
like,
he heard
oh,
was
okay,
boyfriend.
okay,
He
here
was
we
like,
go.
okay, yeah.
Here we go. So then we like started talking and we realized we were literally from the same hometown. And like one of my good friends in high school was like dating his stepbrother, and like we just had so many connections, and we literally just like hit it off so much. We stayed up talking the whole night. I really loved that like he didn't try to have sex with me. Like, sorry, like in college, like in the Midwest, like everyone's drunk, like that's what's happening. And so like I was just like, this is nice. Like he didn't even try to kiss me. Like it just felt, I don't know, like different. And yeah, we started dating like literally a month later and have been together for so long. I mean, it's been so many ups and downs. After we graduated college, packed up our car with no jobs and nowhere to live and no family and no nothing, and literally drove to Los Angeles because he knew I wanted to just like be in the entertainment industry and that I was going to go after my dreams no matter what. He's in finance and accounting, so he can do that anywhere. And we just like stayed in an Airbnb for a month, got jobs, started making our lives. And now like we've lived here for like 6-7 years, and like I couldn't imagine doing life with anyone else. I never saw this for myself. Like I said, I came from, you know, a broken home of like being like, I am just gonna go do my thing. Like I am just like gonna, you know, go after my career, and I'm not gonna have a man involved in anything. And then like I met him, and like he just like, you know, got me
That's
so
amazing.
fast.
A lot of crossover
so
too, because I feel like
beautiful.
you wanted to live your dream and he really loved you. So
Yeah.
he sacrificed, because that's what Hannah does for me. I have my dream and she helps. But
Yeah.
no, you know what? I really like the courage that he built up to talk to you, because That's one of the things I don't miss being single. I missed about being single was you don't know what's gonna happen, and you just build up this card where it's like this could go sour, this could go bad, but maybe it could work. And that instant moment of, hey, I'm Joe. It's like, what's gonna
It
happen?
literally changed our lives. Like, it's so crazy. He literally had never had a girlfriend, had never like anything with girls, like was 18 years old and would just, he told me that night he told himself, like, if I see her, I'm going to say something.
That's
and then he's like,
amazing.
you walked in and I was like, okay, like you can't be a pussy anymore. Like you have to say something. Cause he'd seen me the whole other semester, like walking around all the time. Like we had the same classes pass where like he would just pass me. And I had no idea. He was just like watching me, but like, you know, and I can't even believe it. Like it's really crazy. And he's my best friend in the whole entire world. Like literally like my partner at life. I get asked all the time, like, why aren't you guys married yet? And I'm just like, honestly, like it's just never been like so important to us. Like we're just like partners and we have each other's back and like we trust each other literally forever and ever. And you know, it'll happen when it happens. I had to like make my dreams come true first.
Damn
That was
straight.
very for me. Like you know, growing up, I was like never dreaming of my wedding. I was dreaming of my TV show and my book. So like,
Damn
gotta birth
straight.
those first.
Ooh, yeah, babe. I love that you just answer so many of my questions. Like I have all these questions written down, and you just answer them anyway. Because I was going to ask about marriage as well, but it's true. My brother and I call her my sister-in-law because they've been together since
Yeah.
I was 13. But they've been together 20 years, 2 kids. They're like we're engaged, but we're not really like.
I think for me, it's just like, yeah, I never grew up like dreaming of what this wedding would look like or anything like that. And now, like, I feel like I'm just like, oh my gosh, all of it sounds like too much for me. Like, I just would, like, we'll probably just like elope or something.
We were talking to Amy earlier. We got married at the Beverly Hills Courthouse.
That's
at 9 a.m. on
my
a Friday
vibe.
morning. It was
Like,
so
that's
beautiful.
the vibe.
And I got married in a thrifted dress.
I will be doing that as well.
I knew that you would.
100%. I just like, I need the casual vibe, especially because we both like have family situation. So I'm just like, we don't have, like, I don't want to do a big thing. I just want to like do our thing because like our life has just been us doing us together. And until my sister moved out here a year ago, like it was just us. I mean, it was us in that, you know, literal studio apartment in Beverly Hills for the first 3 years we moved here. Pretty miserable for a lot of that time, but also like so happy because we just had each other and like, we were just building our lives. And for us, like breaking generational trauma and like building a life that makes us happy and like having our puppy Freddie, like that is just.
What's Freddie?
Oh my
What kind
gosh.
of dog?
The sweetest little super mutt you have ever seen.
Yeah.
Mostly Chihuahua and Poodle, but
I have
a
a chihuahua.
dream.
I have a chihuahua.
We have
corgi.
so much crossover here. A little studio apartment in Beverly Hills.
Yep.
Little
yeah.
Parallel lives, my darling. All right, so I think we hear from a lot of people and a lot of professionals on the show about like communication is key.
Oh yeah.
How this your,
It's the
your
thing.
reaction. I was about to say, how big of a part of life do you think that, or a relationship do you think that is?
Like almost all of it. Like
Yeah.
I think that trust and like mutual respect. I feel like communication, trust, and mutual respect are like my 3 pillars. And like laughing a fuck ton, like that as well. Like he makes me laugh a lot and I am hilarious. So, you know, it's great to live with me too. But yeah, no, communication was the thing that I feel like when we moved, because we never lived together until we moved here. So we dated in college for like the years of college and then we moved out here, moved in together. And I feel like for the first year, like it was more rocky than it had ever been like in college, because obviously there it was like, you know, whatever, like we're hanging out, we live with our friends, like we're, you know, together when we want to be. And really like getting down each other's like communication styles and like actually like more so him, like I'm an over communicator. Like I grew up in a house just full of women. Like all we did was talk and yell and
Same.
talk about our feelings. And he grew up in a home where they didn't really do that. And he never really expressed himself at all. So it was a lot of me like giving him the space to start being able to like express himself and like share his feelings with me and get comfortable doing that before we could like really, I feel like, get to the place we are now. Like communication is literally everything.
I couldn't agree. And knowing how to communicate with each other,
Yeah.
as to your point, like again, parallel lives. Like he grew up in a house with 4 boys. I grew up in a very like not emotional household, kind of same thing
Yeah.
with you. It's like very tumultuous, but also just like so much communication, so much trying to like communicate your feelings. So when we first got together, that was like a
Because I'm always like we would have these fights. Like when we first moved here, where like he would literally just want to like leave the apartment, and I'd be like, "But I want to tell you everything. Like I want to talk
this
this
right now.
Like I want to talk about this right now."
Yeah.
And that was a lot of me like feeling like I'm right in this, and then having to realize no, sometimes I have to give him that space. But like as long as we have the mutual understanding that like I need us to then come back together and just talk about this, like it has to be a give and a take. It has to be, and then that mutual respect has to be there. Like our number one thing, since I come from a house where like there was a lot of cussing at each other and like calling of names like between and like verbal abuse and stuff like that. For us, it's like really important that like we don't like say any of that shit to each other. Like he's never gonna like call me a bitch because like absolutely not. Like we're not gonna use certain words with each other that one like trigger both of us, and also that's just like something we've had to come to like on our own. And then I think also always realizing that and always remembering that your partner who loves you so much is not ever trying to come from a bad place. That was such a key thing with us in communicating, was that you know, sometimes you just like for some reason assume that they're trying to make you feel awful or coming from the worst place when it's like
the closest person to you. So you're like, why are you hurting me so much?
Yeah, and you're like, well, I have to walk it back and remind myself that like, okay, even if I'm hearing this way, he probably wasn't trying to make me feel like shit about myself, because why would he be? Like he loves me more than anything.
Yeah.
So I think reminding yourself that, because it can be so easy to like get heated and be like, oh my God, like they're trying, like you trying to make me upset. Why would you say that way? And like remembering that like sometimes it's because they had a shitty day or whatever. Like always remembering that there's other factors in the communication, and that I think coming to the core of like, we're never trying to like hurt each
I
other.
think it's
Like
very valuable.
we're always coming from a place of love, even if it's not like what you want to hear. Like it's from a place of love.
And we always talk about that. Like we should treat each other as best friends, because I would never just yell at my best friends all the time for bothering me.
No.
So I think the fact
never
that
call my best friend a bitch.
Yeah, the fact that your partner is your best friend, my partner is my best friend, like you should, like you said, no, we're not trying to hurt each other. We're just communicating in the wrong way.
Which can get lost in like a big fight. Like it can get lost. Like, you know, feeling like if you're fighting with someone, like definitely dialing back and remembering like this person loves me so much. Like they're probably not trying to hurt me. Like let's come down from this and kind of like communicate on that level now, and that understanding. And that was like something that took time for us to figure out. And I mean, that's also like when you start a relationship so young, obviously, like your communication changes and your styles change and like what you need changes so much, and those growing pains. But yeah, having communication and like the mutual respect for each other. And that's huge for me. I knew I needed a partner that like really, really respected what I do and who I am. And what I do can look a little silly and goofy sometimes from the outside. So like, I know I couldn't have no judgmental man being like, well, stop playing dress up for a living. But like, he got it. He was like, oh, we're going to move to LA and you're going to play dress up for a living. And it's going to make all your dreams come true. Like, exactly. And he just like believed in me so hard. Like I knew he saw me in that way. And I didn't feel like anyone had ever seen me in that way. I also had never felt safe like a day in my life. And being with someone that like actually made me feel so safe, like I think it broke my like, or maybe just melted my kind of tin heart into pieces.
Broke the chains in your heart. That's so beautiful. And I love the fact that you guys are like opposites. Like he's in finance and accounting.
Oh yeah.
You play dress up for a living, and it's like, it truly is opposites attract.
No, he's like on his Zoom meetings, like with like corporate France, and I'm like running around the house in my underwear, like throwing a fur coat around, being like.
I love that so much. All right, I want to ask you 2 more questions about this. So, what is your favorite unconventional date idea that you and Tyler have done, or that you think more people?
Oh my gosh, an unconventional date. Well, I will say, like, I mean, maybe not unconventional for us, but like, take your man thrifting, first of all. That was something when we started doing that was a fun thing for us to go do for him, because we're always doing it for me. So it was fun to do it for him. We don't do a lot of unconventional dates. We smoke a lot of weed and watch a lot of movies. Like
sounds like a good date to me.
Pretty much what I can get into these days.
I love that so much. All right, so if Tyler could set up the perfect date for you, what would the drink, what would the time, and what would the place be?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, can it be like a getaway for a moment date?
Anything that you want.
Because there's this place in Palm Springs called Korokaya that we absolutely love. It's like very like Mediterranean vibes, but like in Palm Springs, like you feel like you're in Greece, but you're just 2 hours away. We'd go there. It'd be early in the morning, because I'm an early morning girl. We are an early morning family. Like we like to get up and like do everything in the morning. So we'd get up early and we'd drive to Palm Springs, and he'd take me to Angel View thrift store, and then we'd go to Korokaya and I'd drink espresso and then a kin. And then we'd smoke weed and we'd watch a movie or like lay in the sun. Like we like to relax. Like we both are just like always like doing shit all the time, that like when we have to make that time to be together, but like doing shit in the same house, but like not together, you know? So like, I feel like honestly, no matter what we're doing, like as long as we're together and we're kind of like turning off our phones, like I feel like that's a big thing. I don't need much.
Oh, babe, I love that
so
much. I really hope
simple
that comes
vibes.
true.
Simple vibes.
Simple vibes. I love that so much. All right, we're gonna play a couple of games.
Yeah, I'm excited for the game.
So we're gonna play this. How well do you know yourself? You already answered the first one. I knew this was gonna be a softball regardless, but you already answered it earlier, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. What was your original YouTube channel name?
Yeah, Fashion Outsider 09, baby.
Knew it. Okay. In an interview with Ryan Seacrest in 2022, what did the bag behind you say?
Oh, I heart Botox. Oh my God. I was gonna say, because I've been on Seacrest twice, and I remember the first time I went on, him seeing that and him bringing up, oh my God, I've
So
never
funny.
had Botox. And I was just remember getting off that and being like, he's lying, right? I'm just like, you've looked the same since I was 15, so I don't know about that.
I have a strong suspicion that he's either had Botox or he's a vampire. Either
It might be the vampire one, but he was so nice. And that was honestly, as like an American Idol stan, that was one of the best moments of my life. Was going on his show and then getting asked to come back on the show this past year, like
the fact that he
dead.
loved you so much, so much.
But I was like, you brought up the Botox. Like he was like, is that I heard Botox? Never had it before. I was like, are you just trying to squash rumors in this interview right now?
Oh my God, that's amazing. All right, what was the title of the book your bestie found at an estate sale that you said, quote, wait, stop, the text is so gross, but the photos are slay?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was Amy.
Oh, was it you?
Yeah, it was. We recreated it and shot the whole thing. It was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. The title of it.
The title of it. Don't you dare give her a hint.
We changed it to like shake that shimmy or
Yeah,
like
but what was the
shimmy that shake.
Original title. You put your hand down.
Oh my God. I don't remember. I remember like the cover because we shot it.
What was the cover?
It was like it's like a four photos and it's like a working out 80s vibes, yes. And we changed it to like how to shake that shimmy or shimmy that, how to shrink that waist, shrink, how to. Can I phone a friend?
Yeah, you can phone a friend. Go.
How to flatten your stomach. Oh my God, I knew it was like shrinking, flattening, like making yourself smaller.
You were very close.
That was one of my favorite things. Projects we've ever done.
The fact that you decided to.
Yeah, we found that at Alex Trebek's house.
It says Amy Bean in the thing
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
All right. So last one. You did an op-ed with Stylecaster in 2021. Do you remember the 7 tips that you gave for thrifting?
LOL. No, but I'm sure one of them was like, give the good to get the good.
That was one of them?
I'm sure one of them was, oh my gosh.
Let's get 4 out of 7.
Okay. Something about having your inspo in hand, I'm sure.
Gather your
inspo.
Yeah,
okay, hold on. Gather your inspo. Something about like making sure to be like compassionate's not the right word, but to like be thoughtful about like the sections that you're thrifting. I remember I said something.
Keep compassion, empathy, and size privilege in mind.
Yes. And it's crazy because I referenced this article like when I was writing my book proposal that I had to write before I got my book deal, and like referenced this because I'm pretty sure this article is like how my editor found me and offered me the book because she like saw me writing about it. Oh my God. Okay, what was another one? Gather your inspo. Check the time or the day or something. I'm sure I said something like that.
Do you want me to read them out to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so do your research. Gather your inspo. Give the good, get the good. Dress the part. See an item for what it can be,
not for what it is. Just hang on the hanger.
Keep compassion, empathy, and privilege. And
have fun. Be yourself. Do you. Yeah. Have fun. Be yourself. Do you.
That's basically the same thing.
Yeah. The book is like all of that on steroids to the max.
Oh my God. Cannot wait to read
it.
So
that was a really fun piece for me to write. That piece is like what made me even feel confident in being able to write the book because I'd been interviewed from like a bunch of publications at that time, but never asked to like write my own piece for one. So that was really fun, honestly.
I love that. All right, we're going to play first thing that comes to mind. So I'm going to say a word. You tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Bras.
Fuck no.
Sneaker heels.
Absolutely yes.
Makeup.
Oh.
That could be a word too. Ugh.
It can be nice sometimes. I have some on right now and like I don't even know how I feel about it, so.
Lexi.
Best friend.
Shimmy.
Shake.
Latex.
Sweat. Ass sweat. Swamp booty. Like
Freddie.
Angel.
Okay, we're gonna play thrifting edition of Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, so these are not all of the top thrift stores, but these are just ones that you've mentioned in your videos.
I love how researched you are.
Oh my God.
This is a good interview.
A deep dive. Thank you very much, darling. Okay, so thrift stores. It's a Wrap, Play Clothes, and Goodwill. Fuck, marry, kill.
Okay. I'm going to kill It's a Wrap. And I'm going to fuck play clothes, and I'm gonna marry Goodwill.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Jackets, leather, faux fur, denim.
Okay, I'm gonna kill denim. Literally, no.
Done.
I am going to marry leather, and I'm gonna fuck fur.
Love it. Accessories, statement hats, vintage sunnies, designer handbags.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god. Okay. I didn't even. It was Sunny's bags and which
Statement
hats. Okay,
vintage-
hats can go. I look like a penis when I put hats on. I am gonna marry Sunny's and just like fuck designer bags. Sunny's are my everything. If I could wear Sunny's a la Rachel Zoe 24/7, I would. Maybe when I get like a little more up there.
All right, last one, vintage. Vintage Forever 21, vintage Charlotte Russe, vintage Abercrombie.
Oh my god, I love this. Okay, vintage Abercrombie can get out. Bye. We don't need you. I like get around with like fucking some Charlotte Russe and marrying vintage Forever 21, which is hilarious because I worked at Forever 21 in high school, and like it was like one of the most traumatic jobs I've ever had. Like literally, they would keep us in the mall. Like I was literally a teenager. They would keep us in the mall till like 2:00 in the morning, like cleaning the store and like doing the craziest stuff. And I hated it, but the vintage pieces are good.
Okay, fun fact, I was actually a model for Forever 21 for a long time. I was like on some of their campaigns and did all that shit. The inner workings were just as horrible
No,
as it
terrible,
seemed.
terrible. The behind the scenes is, I mean, I don't even know how they still exist now, to be honest. But like,
I think barely.
it was
barely horrible.
terrible.
Horrible,
It was
mate.
bad working
And
conditions.
also, they're like, I mean, I don't know if they're in the same studio, but it was literally like walking through a mental hospital.
Yeah.
Like, it was just white walls
Yeah.
and then glass. And
Yeah.
everybody was just like,
It was
stone-faced and
weird.
so upset.
I
Oh
did
my
not
God.
like it.
Mm-mm. All right, we're going to play one last little game and then we're done. It's
Oh my
rapid fire.
God.
So, quick, short answers. Biggest misconception, the biggest misconception that people have about you.
About me? Oh my gosh. I don't know. Honestly, I think the biggest misconception that people had about me when I first started TikTok was that I was like some rich girl with daddy's money. I would get that comment all the time.
Really?
And that I was like just getting into thrifting for a trend. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I've been faking it till I make it my whole life. So glad you believe me, but no.
Thank you.
No.
I like that. If you weren't in your current profession, what would you be doing?
If I was, what even is my current profession? Who can be sure?
Name,
But
dress up.
I would be probably acting or singing. Like I'd probably be in the entertainment industry, just like in a different area, but just like being myself is a lot better.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
The way you look is the least interesting thing about you.
I loved that.
That's like
so
my favorite thing
much.
I've ever heard, actually. I take
Yeah.
that back. That is something that will stick in me and I will say until I'm pretty sure I put it in my book, like, because I'm just like, it is so important to remember.
So true, darling. All right, last one. If you could create one law in the world that everyone had to abide by, what would it be and why?
Oh, besides to thrift all your clothes,
Could be that.
to be an empathetic person. It's literally like what I feel like would make our whole entire world go round, especially this country, just so much better. Just be an empathetic person. Empathy for everyone.
Empathy for everybody. Mandated empathy.
Mandated
Wait, before
empathy
we
for
leave, I just want to ask
everybody.
you, have you been to be continued?
No.
If we could, you really love. I think he just likes the title of it.
The marketing of that store is
Yeah,
just amazing.
it's a consignment store. It's not really
Yeah,
a
yeah,
thrift
yeah.
store. It's like a consignment store, but it's beautiful.
Where is it?
On Robertson.
I feel like I need to
you
go.
have to go.
I feel like
It's
I
so
never
cool.
go. I'm always in the valley thrifting. I always like gotta get out. I'm like, I gotta get to the valley. I gotta take my real ass thrift stores out
I
there.
used to live up in the valley and I love the valley.
I lived
so
in
much.
Sherman Oaks
So did
before I lived in Beverly Hills. And
So did
like,
I.
stop. Guys,
Shit, you know,
this
it's
is a
so
little too
weird.
weird. Like, come on.
So weird. This has been so wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on today,
Oh my
Macy,
God, thank you so
darling.
much for having
So
me.
beautiful.
And then
Yeah.
your book's coming out, right?
Yeah, in September.
And can you let everybody know where to find you?
Yeah, Macy Eleni on Instagram, blazed and glazed everywhere else. Shimming and shaking, doing my thing. Come
Awesome.
thrift.
Love
Have a
it.
good time. Be yourself.
This is awesome. And thank you for watching. Watch one of our past episodes and subscribe. Thank you.
Done.
Oh, happy dating. Happy dating.